Hi guys, welcome to my class. I'm Veronica. I am the Quilting She Shed. I'm from Missouri, so I live down at Lake of the Ozarks. I have 4 girls, so 14, 11, 5, and 3, and I still find time for quilting. This is my passion. I'm here to teach everybody kind of my way of quilting. Before I had Quiltmagine, I have a pro long arm with no, which Miss Lana bought. She's here to learn with us. So I have a pro long arm and I have a diamond with Quiltmagine on them. So before I had several different long arms, and this was my way of teaching myself how to quilt without investing in a Quiltmagine. So I'm going to teach several different ways today, and I'm also going to show you, because I didn't get to show you in some of the other classes, how to use the front laser on our machines today. I'll be moving between some of the different machines to show the different features as well today. So I brought several sets of stencils, and today for our class special, these will be $29.99, and I will be quilting with them and showing you guys how to use them in class today. We also have the mark be gone pins, and then you can mark with them, and then you can heat erase them as well. So these will be available in our shop at the end of class. And I brought all my own marking utensils, and then I also often with stencils I will use my quilt pounce. If you need a way to erase it, you can use water with a microfiber, or you can use an air compressor like I do in my quilt room. Now, the reason that I learned how to do that is Mr. Fred Nolting, when I was in Stover, Missouri with the machines, the ladies, they were making the big quilt comforters for the hotels in Kansas City, like the Aladdin and things like that in the 80s and 90s. And I asked them, I said, how do you get the quilt stencil off? He's like, yeah, we just put the air compressors in there and we just blow it off. It comes right off the quilt. And I was like, well, I hadn't thought of that, you know. So you can get you a small one at Harbor Freight for pretty cheap. All right, let's start off here. I'm gonna switch it to cruise mode. And then I use several different stencils. I'm able to pick these up, you know, usually $6 or $7 a stencil. It supports my local quilt store. So I actually have quite a collection of stencils, but you're able to do very creative designs, such as the designs in the center of the quilt, and do your grids. You're able to get gridded. We talked about some grids yesterday. You're able to put those grids on there and able to trace them. But I'm gonna start out with this stencil at the beginning of class and teach you guys. If you guys want to stand up here closer, I feel free and welcome to. Right now I'm at this. Okay guys, so I'm gonna use this as my first stencil, and I do have the ruler plate on here. Sometimes that provides like a nice place to kind of place your stencil and be able to, so you could see that I chalked it. I think we do. Yes, we do. The chalk pounce. I think Mickey said that we sell them, so I asked before class. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I start out. So I quilt pounced it on there. And even if you can't see it, we're just winging it, you know. It's still gonna turn out a beautiful flower. We're doing Hawaiian flowers here. This would make a beautiful border on a quilt. If you're struggling with feathers, you can get feathers in these stencils to be able to learn that muscle memory for yourself. I know a lot of people, that's one of their struggles, and this is a good way to try and teach yourself. So that's what the stencil would look like when it's completed. And then...
So is it all in one, or are you going over top sometimes to get back? Or do you just go and never have across?
I go with, nobody's going to look that closely, and we're going to hope it all works out.
Okay. Unless you're entering a show.
I do a lot of...
That one doesn't, if there's a way out of it, so you don't have to cross.
I do a lot of non-quilt show related. Hold on, sorry. I probably should have prepared this a little better. So these are dry. These are the erasable.
Do you find those dry out real quick? Because I bought some and didn't buy them from y'all, but I bought some.
I find that they even run out quick. So sometimes I go through 3 or 4 of these pen sticks, and like it's just like a gel pen. Mm-hmm. Once you open it, it almost evaporates. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do these lovely stencils that Quilting has provided for our class, that they're available in our shop here. And I think there's a set of 9 on here, several different designs. There's modern, there's flowers. I'm going to show you how to make a nice like border with them. I'm just using that light from the Longarm. And then I will fill in between with some, since I'm using a flower one, with some leaves in between my stencil, free motion. So right now I'm putting the stencil on here. I'm tracing out in between those. You could also use a chalk pounce. You could also use our pins that we have provided. I just happen to have blue fabric on the Longarm today, so I would not be able to see them. So I'm going to start in the center, so I'm going to pull that bobbin up, do my locking stitch. I didn't lock that apparently when I could feel it drooping. You want to make sure you have it nice and even in there. There's some beautiful flowers. Would anybody else like to try to do one? I can stencil out another one here for you guys. You want to try one?
Sure.
This is a judgment-free zone.
It better be.
We listen and we don't judge, okay, everybody? You pick whichever one you want.
I don't care. Just maybe not anything too pointy.
We'll try this one. It's simple.
Okay.
This one's pretty simple. And I'll just go around the outside. You don't necessarily need to do the inside ones, okay?
Okay.
But this would be a great if you did stars and swirls for like a veteran's quilt. I'm a veteran for a charity quilt or something like that.
True.
Here you go. We'll cut that for you.
Where's your start and stop on this one? Machine.
Right here.
I
You
mean
put
button wise.
this one.
Oh, that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna pull that bobbin up. And then go ahead and start with green.
Green.
Yep.
Look at you. Oh, wow.
See, she should be teaching the class.
Then swirl off.
Yeah, so
Very
she did an
smooth, very
absolute great job.
Even though I was a little quirky on that bottom there.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna look at that close.
Very smooth.
I did bring several example quilts as well. And I wanted to also show how we use the laser on the front that you can use a coloring book page or something like that as well. But here's some example quilts. Now, oftentimes at home, my daughter will take and actually stencil for me. I'll tell her, hey, I want this stencil placed. And so she'll place it in my borders, and you can see that she's the one that often traced a lot of these stencils on here. This was the stencil that I used for the borders on the top and bottom of my quilt.
Pretty.
And then I added a little bit of those flowers in between on there. So there's that one. And then over here, if you're wanting to practice feathers, you can put the feathers on there. There's feathers on this one. And then you can see the butterflies and the ruler work on the other. So this is a really good way to try and practice. You guys can take a look at these later too as well. And then I also have a quilt with the two stencils hung up back there. You can see where I used the stencils to create the pattern on that quilt as well. Over here, we're going to learn about borders, and I've laid some different stencils out if we wanted to try and practice. This one is kind of how you do that center stenciling in the middle up there. If you guys want to take a look at that. Miss Lana was kind enough to cut out the middles for me this morning. I'm going to grab my quilt pounce. Here's my marker. So I created a box around here so I can pretend that this is my block so I can show you how to set this up, and then I'm going to do a border on it. If you wanted to create your own stencils, you can go to probably the dollar store or place that you can get laminate. This is one that you can, my friend created. She's passed now, but she handed a lot of these stencils down. She was a Kansas Longarmer for a long time. You can tell we've chipped it, you know, a couple times and taped it back together. But, so I probably need to make a new one, but every time I use it, I think of her, so. And this one looks really good on borders, but you could take and go down, up, I obviously should have moved that up. And then I would take and draw one here on the outside of my block.
That's too thick. It's actually too thick. Now your machine's going to tell you if you've done that. It's going to pick the bottom, whatever it's not.
No, I don't. Now you could also use your laser, and you can point your laser down at the bottom of your point down here. That way you know where you're actually going as well. So just a really good point to make.
So that it flexes back and hits the hook. I want movement.
Now I'm going to show, I have several books which I brought today with different motifs, quilting motifs and designs inside of them, just as an example, but you could even use a coloring book if you wanted a particular design on a quilt. So I'm going to set this over here and I'm going to pretend this is my block. So I'm going to use my laser so I know I'm going to line it up on this side and then line it up on this side so I know it's going to go inside of my block, okay? So I'm going to start out and I'm going to do this upper flower right here, okay? I don't.
Is it better to have the ruler plate on?
I use the ruler plate a lot at my house in particular. Just to keep it steady. I have a string underneath that I keep getting caught on. Sorry, guys. You guys can do it as an entire border or an entire block as well. So if, say, I wanted to move this around and have another flower up here, I would just turn this around and then I would go to do my flower. Just make sure I have it lined up in the place that I want it to be. So sorry, I'm lining it out. Okay. So that's how I would do a flower block. Say I wanted to do a sunbonnet Sue, or I have a sunbonnet Sue template you could put on a sunbonnet Sue quilt, or feathers. We'll do feathers, for example, for our next one. Hi. I'm going to use the chalk pounce just because it's easier for me. Now this makes a beautiful border. There we go.
Does the powder come in different colors if you're working on white?
Yes, so you can get a blue powder as well. Blue, I think they used to make one that would actually glow, but I think it had bad chemicals in it back in the day. But
Yeah, I don't want to glow in the dark.
You do have to be careful. Sometimes it's hard to get.
So tracing probably would be better.
I would test it on a piece of fabric before you use any chemical marker or anything like that. But a lot of the Dritz markers, like what we have available in the shop here,
That's the one that disappears. Oh, so that's the one that needs water.
they heat, yeah, it heats it off. It is. Don't be afraid to add your own design or pizzazz to something, you know. Just because it's a stencil doesn't mean you always have to follow it. What questions do you guys have? Nope, absolutely nothing. Does not affect oiling, does not affect any of that. No. It's caught behind the thread plate. There we go. Now, what I would do at home is I would go get me a thread cone and put it on there so it holds my thread back there so it doesn't get caught anymore. And we have those available in our shop as well.
So it got caught up under this?
Yes.
Is what it did?
Yeah. And we have a thread cone, which is a fix for that. And I always tell a lot of my customers, hey, just go get you a thread cone and it'll fix that. I have one on each of my machines.
I brought these in, I know some people were looking for them earlier.
Yes, and I will show you some more designs by that as well, too. Now, I think there's 9 available. Normally, I pay about $6 each for a design. So I think that's a pretty good deal. It's like a $50 value on there. So let me get a couple more of those out and we shall try them. Does anybody else want to try while I'm here to help them? Anybody? Okay. Oh, great. I love that. Do you want to do a lily or do you want to do a star or flower.
It doesn't matter too much. Just pick one.
Okay, we'll do this one right here.
I always like that one. It reminds me of like the flowers in Hawaii.
Yeah. And you don't have to do the center, or you can do the center. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. You just, you want to do a circle, or you want to do whatever. And then all of this, obviously, if I had iron, would just iron right off. And honestly, I've gone in and marked quilts, and then the next day, with this particular pin, the next day I show up and all my marks are gone. So,
And you just iron it while it's on the mama?
yeah. I actually have a cordless iron in my shop, so when I'm just gonna pull that bottom one.
Do you recommend getting that table under there, or is it, you know, that little slide table?
Oh, the roller plate?
Yeah, I usually do.
I leave mine all the time, unless I'm really trying to.
Especially with Quilt Magin, I say that it always leaves enough of a. Do you want me to start the bobbin for you, or are you good?
What I should do. I'm looking at. There's a lot more buttons on that one than mine has.
Okay. Let's give it a go. Green to go.
Whoop. See if we can do something in the middle.
You can do it. And you can turn this machine almost up to 19 stitches if you're not using, you're on cruise mode, and make those stitches really, really small as well. I was showing some people in class yesterday some of the different stitches that I like to use on these machines. So if you're going for a hand guided, this is a standard 12 stitches per inch. But if you're going for like a more of a hand guided look, you can switch those stitches per inch on the fly. I'm gonna turn it. I'm gonna turn it down to 7,
Oh, okay.
6 or 7. So I'll kind of space that out. So they even give you a different look on your quilt. Then, if you wanted to turn it up and do some really tight stitching, you can even turn it up more than that too.
How many is that?
19. So you can go all the way up to 25. So that's how tiny that is and detailed. And that's what's amazing about our stitch regulation on these as well. Look how great that looks. So standard stitch length is between 12 and 14. If you're wanting a hand, if you're looking at doing, I do a lot of vintage type quilts. So I float a lot of my quilt tops, a little bit wonky sometimes. I'll turn it down to probably 6 to 8, just depending, so I can kind of get that hand stitched look, and people like that a lot. And then if I'm doing like custom work and it's like really detailed and intricate, I'll turn it up to, you know, around 19 and really just get in there. And I'll sit on my stool here, and because of where you're at, you can really get in there without hurting your back or anything, and get in there and look really closely at what you're doing.